Shane Van Gisbergen is unreal, but this is something that we already knew. What we also already knew is that as the playoffs inch closer and closer, tempers start to flare and the pressure rises for these teams around that cutoff line, and we definitely saw that on full display today at Watkins Glen. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, it's Taylor Kitchen and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line on the ATYL Media channel, where we talk NASCAR all the time. And it was a busy race weekend at Watkins Glen where ARCA, Truck, Xfinity, and Cup all competed. And for the ARCA Series, Tristan McKee, at just 15 years old in his debut, won that race. For Truck, it was Corey Heim, no surprise there, winning on a road course yet again. For the Xfinity Series, capturing his 6th victory of this season, Connor Zilich. And I want to pause here for a second because there was a scary moment in victory lane for Connor Zilich that I want to update you all on. In case you missed it, when Connor Zilich was celebrating in victory lane, he was climbing to stand on the window of his car. His foot slid from the window and he took a pretty nasty tumble to the ground. The CW broadcast reported that he was awake, alert, and talking to medical personnel as he was taken to the infield care center. From the infield care center, he was transported to a local hospital for further evaluation. And from there, Connor Zilich shared that he is okay. All CT scans came back good to go. However, he did break his collarbone. But all things considered, Connor Zilich thanking the AMR safety crew and all medical personnel to make sure that he was safe. He said he is glad that it was not any worse. Connor Zilich was actually at Watkins Glen today on Sunday, walking around the Cup garage, talking to the teams, the drivers. He had his left arm in a sling, and he actually did an interview on the broadcast with Marty Snyder, and Marty Snyder asked, what does this mean? What's next? Connor Zilich shared that he's working with doctors on his recovery plan and his return to the race car, and maybe on a potential positive too. He also shared that he talked with his teammate Shane Van Gisbergen, and Shane suffered a similar injury before, and he was back in the race car the next week after getting a plate put in. Connor Zilich shared that he doesn't feel his recovery could be that fast. He has no clue yet, but at least some positive encouragement there for his potential recovery timeline. But we will see if anything changes when we get more updates. We'll let you know on ATYL Media, but so glad Connor is okay. That was incredibly scary to watch live, hoping for a speedy recovery for him. Speaking of a Trackhouse racing driver, Connor Zilich, a Trackhouse development driver, let's talk about Shane Van Gisbergen for like the millionth weekend in a row. SVG just does not stop. Started alongside Ryan Blaney for the Go Bowling at the Glen on Sunday, and on lap 54, he took the lead from Blaney after Blaney led practically all of stage 1 and didn't look back. SVG finished 11 seconds, over 11 seconds I should add, ahead of second place finisher Christopher Bell to win this race. My God, what can't SVG do at these road courses? Not only that, but this is some pretty sweet redemption for Shane after last year's intense battle with Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher finishing in the 3rd position, by the way, during today's race. But that was one that kind of got away from Shane. So to win this race in a dominant fashion at the end speaks volumes. And there's so many more statistics that go with this win too, and a lot of emotion behind this win as well. First up, SVG is now tied for the most wins in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season with Denny Hamlin, 4 wins apiece. Along with this, SVG breaks the record for having the most wins in a rookie season, beating the record of Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart. So that's pretty cool too. All of this done at a road course. Which I say that, but shouldn't be a surprise because SVG supercar background, but we get the picture still. Breaking records, pretty big deal. And from the emotional side of this win, SVG lost his mom a few years ago. It's been a very tough go around, especially now racing in the United States, not being able to see his family on the broadcast. They shared that SVG has not seen his dad since Christmas, so it's been a long time since he's been able to be with family. But today at the race, Shane's dad was present to watch him win. An incredible moment for him, an emotional moment for him on the front stretch as he was doing that interview. So congrats to SVG on your 4th win of the season. My goodness. Now, going into the playoffs, that first round, not sure if he will make it past the first round, but you never know. Crazy things could happen. But 4-time winner this season, SVG. Awesome. I mentioned Christopher Bell powered to that 2nd position. And in the 3rd position, Chris Buescher. And Chris Buescher actually after the race said, I'm not an avid points racing person, but I know where we stand. Around that cutoff line, there's still an intense battle between him above the cutoff line and his teammate Ryan Preece below the cutoff line. That points gap has widened now to 34 points. But what's working for the 17 team is we have Richmond and Daytona as the final two races before the playoffs hit, and those are two tracks that Chris Buescher has won at in recent years. So a good omen maybe for the 17 car, but of course, if we have a new winner and it's not Chris Buescher, he's not making the playoffs unless he's able to win at Daytona and we have a new winner at Richmond. There's so many case scenarios left with only 2 races to go before the playoffs hit, but it's getting dicey for Chris Buescher. But again, as a positive, there's 2 tracks that he's won at in recent years. So Chris Buescher in that 3rd position, 4th William Byron, 5th Chase Briscoe, and Chase Briscoe has been so impressive recently, and I do not feel like we've talked about it enough. In the past 5 races, Chase Briscoe has finished inside the top 5 4 of those times. To think the rough year that he had starting out, Daytona was really good, got the first pole position for Toyota at the Daytona 500. After that, though, especially with that big penalty and stuff like that, just kind of fell off the map for a bit. Then he picked up momentum. They're figuring it out as a team, and such a good time to figure it all out, especially heading into the playoffs to make a convincing playoff run. So Chase Briscoe finishing in that 5th position. 6th, we have Ryan Blaney, and for Ryan Blaney, he said, you know what, just lost the car at the end, didn't have the handling, but all things considered, a really good day for that Penske number 12 team. Their goal is just to better their road course program, and I definitely think that 12 team has done that for Cindric and Logano. Not wonderful days by any stretch of the imagination. Logano finished in that 14th position with Cindric finishing 16th, but for Blaney, a decent points day, winning stage 2. And of course, getting the pole position for this weekend, capturing Team Penske's 150th pole position, so also adding some history there to that as well. So Ryan Blaney finishing in that 6th position. And 7th, surprising stat here, Daniel Suarez, he has not finished inside the top 10 since Texas earlier this year, so a much needed result for that 99 team. And that 8th position, Bubba Wallace right behind him in 9th, Tyler Reddick in 10th, Ross Chastain. And another staggering stat for the Trackhouse drivers here, Ross Chastain has not finished inside the top 10 since Chicago. So again, needing to find some speed in those other 2 Trackhouse cars. Ross Chastain, though, showing some pretty good speed during the event, though, just I don't think finished as high in the finishing order as I thought he could have. There's one more driver I want to talk about before we move on, and that's Ty Gibbs finishing in the 33rd position. And you're probably wondering, Taylor, why are we talking about a driver who finished in 33rd? Drama. We're talking about Ty Gibbs because drama. If you heard anything from his radio communication during Sunday's race at Watkins Glen, it was pretty heated between driver and team. I'm actually going to pull out my phone here because Jeff Gluck actually transcribed some of the radio communication and posted it on Twitter. Ty Gibbs at this point was in the 5th position. Ty Gibbs said, I don't have rear tires to do shit. He was told that they're going to keep working at it and play through the pit cycle. Ty Gibbs then said, quote, we're effed right now, so we've got to do something. Chris Gabehart got over the radio at this point and said, well, I'm sure you've got a real good understanding then from inside the car, so you know, you can always call a strategy if you want, or you can keep rolling. But I would do the best I could to go as fast as I can. Gibbs then sarcastically said, 10-4. And listen, I understand the frustration from Ty Gibbs at this point. He wants to be in the playoffs. Every driver, every team does. Right now, they are pretty far outside that playoff picture, and they're going to have to win to get in with 2 races left. They're 125 points below that cutoff line. But for Ty Gibbs, the frustrating piece, I think here, for me at least, is this team has not found consistency that has lasted. It was an abysmal start to the season. From Chicago to Dover, they had a streak of top 10s brewing that were pretty solid, and then after that, they fell off the bandwagon here, and they're finishing outside the top 20 again. It is worry time for this 54 team. To make matters worse, after this whole conversation was had, Ty Gibbs went to pit road and they lost the jack, and so it took a really long time to get that pit stop completed. It's just insult to injury at this point. And towards the end of the race, with less than 10 to go, Ty Gibbs decided to throw a Hail Mary here, thinking that a late caution would come out and put them in a really good position if they got into pit road, got some fresh tires, and maybe would have gotten them the win. Obviously, that strategy did not work out, and we see Ty Gibbs finishing 33rd. So definitely panic time for this 54 team. Will he win his way into the playoffs? Richmond is a good track for Toyota. I do not know. The relationship between team, crew, etc. seems like it is a bit strained right now. So it's trying to get everybody on the same page so they can move forward and find success. but time is not their friend. So we will see what happens to that 54 team going forward with 2 races left before the playoffs start. Throughout our conversation with the results, I'd also been talking about the playoff picture, the point situation. Where does everything look? So let's just dive into all of this here. Of course, Denny Hamlin is seated first in the playoff ranking with his 4 wins. Right under him is SVG. And when we go down the line, we start to see the drivers who have yet to lock themselves in but are good on points. Tyler Reddick, a shoo-in for the playoffs with 117 to the good. Below him, you have Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman sitting solidly in points as well, plus 60 to the good. Then you go to Chris Buescher, right above that cutoff line, plus 34, with Ryan Preece minus 34 below that cutoff line. That points gap widening between those 2 teammates. It's going to be a brawl these next 2 races between those 2 RFK drivers. Right below Ryan Preece, everyone's in a must-win situation. I mean, 102 below that cutoff line for Kyle Busch and down. They're going to have to win. The thing is, again, Richmond could be a new winner this season, maybe. It's not as likely, though. For Daytona, though, anything can happen. Anything can happen. So we shall see, but that's what the playoff picture is looking like right now. All of this said, let's now go to our race rating above or below the yellow line. And if you watch this race, you probably already know where this is going. We're used to the trend of stages 1 and stages 2 being pretty dull, setting up the final stage for just chaos, go time, whatever you want to call it. Stage 1, really no driver was able to pass through the field whatsoever. There was actually a comment from Josh Berry that somebody caught where it's like, I'm trying to pass through the field, but I cannot make it work. We saw Ryan Blaney lead the entire first stage with really no competition at all. Of course, he had to go to pit road before the stage ended, but again, no competition at all. Stage 2 was a little bit more chaotic, but altogether, the race just felt bland. And I don't think this is anything to do with SVG's dominance towards the end. It has nothing to do with that. It's just passing was difficult. But this is nothing new. Again, it is a perfect example of this Gen 7 car on full display with its aero issues and whatnot. And I'm not going to dive into this. On a positive, though, this race clocked in at around 2 hours and 10 minutes, so we didn't have to watch this product for very long. Now, you all know me. I'm not a person who likes to be negative. I try to put a positive spin on things, hence why I put the time of this race in this video. However, it is becoming frustrating that we are settling for this product that we have. It was very apparent last weekend. It's been apparent the past few weekends. I'm hoping during the offseason we really assess this Gen 7 car. It's been good to know that at least for the short tracks, we're hoping to up the horsepower there for 2026. Other than that, I really hope we can make some significant changes to this Gen 7 car during the offseason to make it better, because it's not the tracks that are the problem. It's the darn car. So let's maybe fix that. And that all said, this race gets a 40% below the yellow line. The time of this race honestly saved it, that it was just a little over 2 hours. Otherwise, I think my rating would have been a little lower. Nonetheless, 40%. Up next on the NASCAR Cup Series calendar, we head to Richmond on a Saturday night. I repeat, Saturday night racing for the Cup Series, so mark those calendars. Fingers crossed this race is good. I'm hoping to God this race is good. I also just don't want it to be a wreck fest like we saw at the end of last year's. You all know what I'm talking about. So could be an interesting weekend of racing. We shall see. But thank you all so much for tuning into this episode of Above the Yellow Line. What did you think of the Watkins Glen race? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, make sure to go to AboveTheYellowLine.com to learn more about us, check out more of our content, and of course to find all of our social media pages, which are also linked in the description below. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.